Hey, what's up, Mr. T? I heard it was your birthday today, and I want to give you sucker foo something special. So let's talk about the number 40, alright?
That was actually me talking. It wasn't. Hey, Jeff, it's your 40th birthday. And so you know what that means. It means it's time for a special time with me. We're going to talk about the number 40 and how awesome it is. But really, we're talking about how awesome you are. So, of course, I'm going to start off with some mathy types of things. There's going to be an object today. There's going to be a little popular culture. Yeah, we got lots of fun in store for today. So let's begin with some of the basic stuff about the number 40. Right? Let's start off with the basics. Prime factorization. 40 is 2 times 2 times 2 times 5. If we talk about the number 40 in different bases, well, in base 10, it's pretty boring. It's 4 in the tens place and a 0 in the ones place. But if you change the base to base 3, where the first digit counts for 1 and the second digit counts for 3 and the third digit counts for 9, well, then you get something a little bit more interesting that happens with 40. 40 could be written as 3 cubed, 27, plus 3 squared, 9, plus 3 to the 1, which is 3, plus 3 to the 0, which is 1. This is called a rep digit, and base 3, that is, if you're writing in base 3, all the digits would be 1. So there's 40 in base 3, 1, 1, 1, 1. Rep digit base 3. Another property of 40 as a number is that is a special class of number. It's called a Harshad number. And with Harshad numbers, you take the digits of the number itself and you add them together. So 40 is 4 plus 0, which is 4. And then if you can take your original number, 40, and divide it by the sum of its digits, and you get a whole number, that's called a Harshad number. So last year, was unfortunate. You were 39. 3 plus 9 is 12. And 39 divided by 12 is not a whole number. Trust me on that. I'm a mathematician. 40 is also unique as you're taking the temperature. Negative 40 is the only temperature at which you have the exact same temperature in both Fahrenheit and Celsius. Okay, I'd like to also go grab some of the lists of numbers, sequences of numbers that you might find. And there is a website that I go to all the time, the Online Encyclopedia of Integer Sequences. And so you can find all kinds of sequences on here. You're going to find these three in particular that have 40 in them. We're going to look at the pentagonal pyramidal numbers. We're going to look at octagonal numbers very quickly, and then we'll talk about torus cutting. So I'll explain each of these one at a time. Okay, let's take that first one, the pentagonal pyramidal numbers. Now the pentagonal numbers are the numbers that you would get if you start with one dot and then you start building pentagons from that, and then building another one on top of that, and keep layering these pyramids on five-sided pyramids. Okay, so here's the first four pentagonal numbers: 1, 5, 12, and 20. Now, if you keep like a running total of these, like if you were stacking them, maybe like a bunch of apples or something, one on top of the other in layers, 1 plus 5 is 6, and then 1 plus 5 plus 12 is 18, and 1 plus 5 plus 12 plus 22 is 40. So it's the fourth pentagonal pyramidal number. It's 40. Octagonal numbers. Octagonal numbers can be generated. Well, it would be the same thing drawing you the pictures, but just with octagons, and I'm not a very good drawer. Can't draw straight lines. So here we go. Octagonal numbers can be generated by plugging in the numbers 1, 2, 3, 4, etc. into the formula here. X sub n, n being your index, first, second, third, fourth, equals 3n squared minus 2n. So here's the first four octagonal numbers: 1, 8, 21, and then there's our famous one there, 40. So plugging in the fourth number here, we get 3 times 4 squared. That's 16 times 3 is 48, minus 2 times 4 is 40. So 40 is the fourth octagonal number. Okay, into topology, which is about like shapes and flexibility and stretchy and all that kind of stuff. I have here a thing called a torus. A torus is basically like a donut. Okay, and this is a torus genus 1 because it has one hole in it. In fact, this is a torus genus 1 as well because it only has one hole. It doesn't go all the way through inside the cup. It just has one hole on the side. Torus cutting is, we're going to slice this thing through in different directions. Okay, and if we just cut it once, either this way or slanty-wise or whatnot, I'll only end up with 2 pieces left over from slicing this torus. And so there's another sequence here that is the maximum number of slices you will get with n number of cuts. And the formula for that is n number of cuts, and then you plug in first, second, third, fourth, fifth into n, is 1/6 of this polynomial n cubed plus 3n squared plus 8n. And so when you plug in 4, no, when you plug in 5, there's the first 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and the fifth one there is 40. So, next time you get a really big donut, you cut up it into 5, make 5 cuts, and you can share it with 39 other people. On to this year's shape. I'm going to work on my folding and taping skills. Okay. Did a little more research on these shapes. There are 92 of these shapes that are called Johnson solids. The rules for Johnson solids is that you're only allowed to use your standard regular polygons. That would be like triangles with all the angles and the sides are the same. Squares, angles and sides are the same, etc. Pentagons, all the angles and sides are the same. So you can't have stretchy ones and whatnot. And in a Johnson solid, you're using things like triangles and hexagons and pentagons and squares. And then all the edges are the same length so that they can all connect very nicely and make a solid. So the 40th one, this is great because I'm always going to be like 3 years ahead of you. So when I'm 95 and you turn 92, I can still be making these. So we've got a ways to go. The 40th Johnson solid in their classification has a net that looks like this. Okay, so this is what I had to print out and fold. It has 36 sides, I think, has like 72 edges. It was a mess. And this one is called, I gotta write it out for you, and we gotta practice this, an elongated pentagonal orthocupola rotunda. Okay, so say that, let's repeat it. An elongated pentagonal orthocupola rotunda. It's nice to know your word parts, isn't it? Yes, orthocupola rotunda, Johnson solid number 40, and here it is as a constructed thing. On this side, here's our cupola side. You got the pentagon right in the middle, and then you've got these squares and triangles. Then on the side, you've got a bunch of squares, and here's the elongated part. It's this side, it's longer than the other, and we've got a pentagon in the middle. You got pentagons, and it's separated there by triangles. Okay, so this is your prize for this year. You can add it to your collection. Johnson solid number 40. Okay, I know we like our theology. So let's talk about some of the Bible's uses of the number 40. Reigned for 40 days and 40 nights in the flood. Isaac married Rebekah when he was 40. Took 40 days for the embalming slash crying, mourning, whatever process for Joseph. The Israelites ate manna for 40 years. Moses was out in Mount Sinai for 40 days and 40 nights. The 12 spies spied out the land for 40 days. Joshua entered Moses' service when he was 40. Think about that. Goliath taunted Israel for 40 days. Saul, David, and Solomon's reigns were all 40 years. Elijah took his trip, 40 days, 40 nights without eating. Ezekiel had to lie on his side for 40 days. Jonah's message was 40 days and Nineveh is overthrown. And then, of course, we know about Jesus was in the wilderness for 40 days, and Jesus was made presentations of himself alive after the resurrection for 40 days. Time for the periodic table. Number 40 on the periodic table is zirconium. Zirconium is a transition metal, and it's kind of goldish color, but not really. There's a picture of zirconium, and there's not a whole lot that's really interesting about zirconium. It does have 40 electrons and 40 protons. That's kind of nice. The one thing that I saw about it that I thought was interesting was that if you look at its crystal structure, there it is. Its crystal structure is hexagonal, close packed. You know, I love hexagons. Time for sports. As you know, having been a baseball player, well, I assume this. In baseball, each team in the Major League Baseball is allowed to have 40 players. Now, there's certain times of the year where they're allowed to expand the roster, but 40 is our normal number of athletes on a game day could be on the roster. 40-yard dash is a very important metric for American football. In tennis, 40 is important. 40 is the number, your score it is that if you win the next serve or whatever, then you win the point, you win that match, that game, whatever. Okay, so 40 is pretty important there. Yeah, I think that's about it for sports. Pop culture time. 40 caliber is a favorite caliber of bullets for some folks. Here it's pretty nice. You get the expression for a nap, 40 winks. I don't know where that comes from. How about life begins at 40, which is kind of depressing. I like this one. 40 is the only integer whose English name has its letters in alphabetical order. F-O-R-T. Why? Because it's kind of fun. Music, Caveman's Call, 40 Acres. Good album. I'm so thankful. The other one that I found, and again, I can't play it because of copyright laws with YouTube, and that would be U2 on one of their early records. It had a song called 40, and it was based on Psalm 40. How long can we sing this song? I will sing a new song. It's a pretty good song, though I was a little bothered to realize that my youth pastor had slipped that into our set of songs that we would sing at a youth group. I'm thinking, that's not explicit enough for me to count as a worship song. But hey, it's a good song. It's a pretty good song, and it's way better than Dave Matthews Band, which I couldn't even understand what he was trying to say in his song. Okay, this one is very timely. Our word quarantine. Quarantine is actually Italian, comes from Italian. Italian for it is 40 giorni. 40 giorni, which means 40 days, the typical quarantine period for somebody that they thought might have the Black Plague or something like that. And then lastly, we have the fact that there was a guy that kept working on a formula for a really good lubricant, and he tried and he tried and he tried, and finally he came down to his 40th try, and it was good. It worked, and really it fixes just about everything, right? Today we call it WD-40, Water Displacement Formula 40. And it just rolls off the tongue, doesn't it? WD-40. It's very special material, but then you are special. So, hope you enjoy this. Enjoy your day. Drink some really dark coffee with lots and lots of whipping cream just because. Hope your day is super special, Jeff. Happy birthday.